When you think about evil characters in anime, Dio always represents that aspect. His character just embodies the darker aspects of human nature, such as greed, ambition, and abuse of power. The second Dio got the stone mask, all he did was just explore the cities of London like Dr. Doofenshmirtz and just make an experiment. Throughout the show, we've gotten multiple iterations of Dio, and it's highly debatable what version of Dio really is the strongest one. But in this video, however, I'll be going over what would happen if we were to put all the iterations of Dio against each other and who would come out on top. I'm going to be starting with the most familiar Dio, which is Dio in part 3. After Dio's first altercation with Star Platinum, they end up fighting each other, and he's able to outspeed him to the point where he's able to kick his leg faster than Star Platinum is able to punch Dio. Dio then makes a remark of Star Platinum's speed, asserting that he's both stronger and faster. And then he makes a reputation claim that he's both the strongest and fastest character around, disregarding time stop. This somewhat makes sense considering that everybody in Dio's crew are too terrified to confront Dio. But we see that Dio is also physically strong to the point where he's able to overpower Polnareff. When Polnareff tries to sneak up on him, Dio turns around and gives him a little love tap that sends him across the entire street and destroys an entire pillar with him. And while fighting Kakyoin, a single jab is able to put his entire arm through his body. Dio then shifts his entire body away from Kakyoin and kicks him backwards that sends him so far ahead, and kicks him backwards with such force that it sends him flying across the city. He's also able to deflect the emerald splashes with little to no effort by himself without the stand. And this is the same emerald splash that was able to literally tear through Star Platinum's chest. It's very consistent for this Dio to be able to scale to Jotaro, as in every interaction they've had prior to Jotaro getting time stopped, he's always outsped him and he's able to hit him with counters. This is impressive because characters such as Jotaro are able to literally destroy buildings with a single punch while fighting Kakyoin. I do have a more detailed explanation of how strong Jotaro is in characters that do scale to Jotaro, where I go in depth on why Jotaro and these JoJo characters are universal with the potential of having infinite speed. I highly recommend watching that video, should be on the screen right now or just in the description below. But besides that, he does scale to Star Platinum both physically and with his stand, and Star Platinum scales to Silver Chariot, who's able to travel a distance of 300 to 700 times the speed of light. There's a more detailed explanation off the calc which I'll be putting in the description below, but the general consensus is that this calc puts him between 300 to 700 times the speed of light. That's pretty much all I have for Dio in part 3. Besides all this strength and speed, of course, he does have the ability to stop time for 11 seconds. I'm gonna be moving over to part 7 Dio now. While fighting D4C, Diego Brando is able to not only overpower him, but every single hit that D4C did exert didn't land him. And he's way stronger than D4C, being able to literally cut his wrist off and his face off. Throughout the fight, he continuously kills Funny Valentine, and Funny Valentine keeps refreshing new bodies. But it's very consistent for Diego being above Funny Valentine and D4C, as he constantly blitzes, even does so in a 3v1. Actually, it's a 4v1 if you count the stand. But besides being able to completely blitz him and just beat him up, he's also stated to be way faster. Although he himself makes the claimant, it doesn't really get contradicted if you've seen the fight, as he usually never gets hit, as it's self-evident throughout the fight. Although he's able to blitz Funny Valentine, it's not really that impressive if you think about the power scaling aspect, as Funny Valentine doesn't really scale anywhere good, and he constantly gets shot by Johnny's nails, and Johnny himself isn't really that strong or fast to begin with, as Johnny gets shot by 1800s revolvers. The only notable speed feat that I do know that Diego's got is that he's able to dodge bullets point blank, and that's pretty much it, which of course, depending on the gun, would put him between Mach 1 to 3. Alternative Diego doesn't really have any speed skills as well, as the only guy he does fight is Johnny, and he gets pretty much beat up throughout the fight. He does have the world stand, but the world stand wouldn't scale to Dio in part 3. Although they are the exact same stand, they do scale differently because they're alternative universes and these characters haven't performed the same actions or the same feats. So besides having a 5-second time stop, it really doesn't have anything to contribute. That's pretty much it for everyone else. It's time to scale Phantom Blood Dio. Dio Brando in part 1 is extremely strong. After getting brutally beat up by Jonathan and left inside of the mansion itself, He states that he needs to consume a lot of life, which would in return make him both stronger and heal his wounds. He makes the assertion that he needs to regain his health. In order for him to do so, he needs a lot of innocent lives to consume. The more innocent lives that Dio consumes, the stronger he gets, and this is kind of consistent with what Zeppeli says as well. He says that the mask and Hamon both come from the same bloodstream of power and the same brain. The more evil the heart is a reflection of how much blood that he does need in order to satisfy his hunger of power. Dio also flat out says that the more people he consumes, the greater the power swells inside of him. Dio, while fighting Jonathan, Joestar, and Zeppeli, is stated to be at least 3 to 10 times stronger than what he was before in the mansion. And this supports the narrative I've been pushing that the more blood you consume, the stronger the character gets. And we know that Dio's goal prior was to consume almost 500 lives of the town, and then later the entire world. We don't have an exact estimate of how many people he did eat, but we do know that he's at least 3 to 10 times stronger. While fighting Jonathan and Zeppeli, they both attempt to hit Dio and combine their Hamon force in order to take him out. Dio effortlessly beats both of them up, and it's stated that the strength that he's able to produce is at least 5 times stronger than both of them combined. This is impressive because Dio scales above characters such as Tarkus, who's able to lift entire boulders with the tip of his finger, and he's able to cut massive parts of a cliff with a sword. It's very consistent that Dio is way stronger than Jonathan, as he physically overpowers him multiple times. Dio should be stronger than Dio in part 3 as well. When I'm talking about Dio in part 3, I'm talking about straight just the character in question. It's pretty self-evident that Dio in part 1 is stronger than Dio in part 3, because Dio in part 3 makes the assertion that both his body and his regeneration abilities aren't as good as they were prior. He says from the neck down, his body belongs to Jonathan. And then he says the left side of his body is way weaker than the one on his right, that he hasn't fully adjusted to the body yet. So what he's saying is that his regeneration abilities and practically anything vampiric is weaker because he doesn't have 100% control of his body. Although a lot of people might interpret the panel as just talking about his regeneration abilities being weaker, he's just saying that the regeneration is weaker because of it's a byproduct of his entire body being weaker. And this isn't a single time he makes the assertion that his body is weaker, because he has at least said it 3 to 4 times throughout the show. But it doesn't need to be said in order for us to know he's weaker, as the body in question isn't his fully primed body that he's been working over for a lot of time. The difference between Dio's body and Jonathan's body is that Dio's body has been going around killing random people and just consuming more life and getting stronger. Even when Dio does consume Joseph's blood, he makes the assertion that the body is inside of is the strongest it's ever been. This statement could be interpreted in a lot of ways, one being that he's simply under the influence because he's making an irrational assertion, because throughout the fight he does get beat up by Jotaro, and these are the same punches that Dio's been tanking throughout the fight. When he gets quote unquote stronger, his entire body blows up. I think it makes more sense that what he's talking about stronger is just in reference to the fact that his stand ability is getting stronger and he's being diluted, because he puts it in such words that would imply that he's on a different level than before, but yet the same punches he was tanking throughout the fight just blows him up. He goes from being able to tank a lot of punches from Jotaro to being killed in just 2 punches. And in part 3, Dio needs the life of people around him to fully regenerate lethal wounds. But in part 1, he was able to do it completely fine, and this is while being hit by Hamon, which should act as a cancer. While Dio's limbs are getting sliced off his body, he's able to regenerate them with little to no effort. He's also able to put himself together after being bisected by Jonathan. There's also a data book statement that flat out states that the more familiar he gets with the body, the stronger the body itself gets. So it supports what I said earlier when his healing is weaker, because he doesn't have 100% control over the body. That pretty much wraps up the Phantom part. So to conclude the video, although Dio in part 1 is both physically stronger and faster than Dio in part 3, he simply wouldn't be able to beat him because of time stop. With time stop, Dio in part 3 definitely got an edge. Although there's a difference in speed, the difference isn't really that big in order for Dio in part 3 to lose. So if I were to rank all these Dios in an order of who would beat who, it would go along the line of Dio in part 3 obviously being number 1, Dio in part 1 being number 2, alternative Dio, and then part 7 Dio, as none of the characters below would be able to match up in Dio in part 1 in terms of strength and speed, since however fast and strong Dio in part 3 is, would just upscale Dio in part 1. And we know for a fact that Dio is at least the speed of light, which is far beyond whatever everybody in part 7 is able to perform at. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Leave a like, subscribe, and join the Discord in the description below. And peace.